Hello, Glacier musicians. Welcome to another interview. Today I have my friend, Mr.C. He is going to tell us about his journey. So, hello, Mr.C. Welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Ms.K. How's everything with you?
Uh, hanging in there, doing the best I can.
Sounds
Um, so before we dive into your journey, can you tell us what state are you living in right now and what do you do for a living?
okay. Well, I currently live in California, born and raised. Live in Sacramento, so state capital, and I'm currently a high school music teacher. Uh, Currently finishing out year two through distance learning.
Cool. Yeah, and Glacier Musicians, Mr. C and I did our master's degrees together. So him and I are both on year two of teaching. So we have a similar experience, but not quite. So you kind of already talked about how long you've been teaching. So when we're gonna kind of go back in time, like when you first started in band. When did you start? How old were you? What instrument did you start on? And just tell us about how you started.
Okay, I think I started music back when I was in seventh grade, back in 2005 or six. Um, I started on trumpet, and I still play that instrument here and there. It's it happened by chance. They they, they put on my schedule band. I was thinking, what's that? And so the moment I walked into the band room, I saw a bunch of posters of instruments, and that's where the journey started.
Wow,
Uh,
that's
my
so
band,
cool.
my music teacher was he asked all of us, what instrument do you want to play? And so I don't know why, but I gravitated toward the trumpet. I remember the first time I buzzed on the mouthpiece, my head got light. I got lightheaded, and it was a weird experience.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
but since then, I've stuck with it. Been playing trumpet now for I want to say more than half my life now.
Whew.
26.
That's,
So 13, 14 years now.
yeah, that's a long time. I think it's interesting too because a lot of the interviews I've done, most people start in like fourth or fifth grade, and your story is a little different. You started later. You started in, you said seventh. So I think that's a cool example for my students to see that you don't always have to start in fifth grade. I have some students this year that are brand new to music as seventh and eighth graders, and they are thriving and loving it. So it's definitely possible to have a later start and still do it for a career, which I think
Surely.
is cool. Um, did you have like a defining moment at some point where you were like, okay, I for sure want a career in music education? Or was it not a certain moment? Did it kind of just weave in and out? How did you get to the conclusion that you wanted to do music?
Well, I grew up. Well, I mean, you know this, and I've talked to you about this in the past. But I grew up in a low-income community. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles, so not a lot of things were going on there. And when I was a part of music at the middle school and high school level, I noticed that I was out of the house a lot, doing you know positive things for the community or for myself. And so once I got to high school, I noticed that I I was looking at how my teachers were teaching and how they were influencing other individuals in my program or in the band program, and that's when I started thinking maybe I could pursue a career in music. I didn't necessarily know that I wanted to go into music education until I got to become a freshman in college. That's when I was thinking, okay, this performance thing is nice and all, but I need something that's going to actually, pay the bills and still go with what I want to do in life.
Totally.
And so at the school that I went to, we didn't necessarily have a degree for music education, so I decided to get a minor. So I took a couple of other classes
Hmm.
that could satisfy education, but not in music.
Right.
And so after that, that's when I applied for grad school and
Yeah.
went about that.
Yeah.
But it was generally in high school, maybe 10th or 11th grade, that I wanted to go into music, but not necessarily music education.
I
Not until
see.
college.
I see. Okay. And we'll talk about the college process in a second. But before we do, anything in middle school or high school music that stood out? Any memories, any travel, any competitions that you think are worth sharing with my students?
Well, at the middle school level, you got to understand that a lot of what you do is to develop you to progress forward. So if you feel down about certain things, just know that it's a journey. It's not a sprint. It's more of a marathon kind of thing. And so when you prepare and prepare and prepare, you will start seeing some things. You will be able to go to your festivals and see other music programs, other bands, other students that are your age performing music. And then if you're in the audience watching, you're gonna clap because you see them performing and you're thinking, "Wow, that sounds pretty cool." Believe me, they'll clap for you too.
Yep.
It's more so giving each other props and congratulations. Um, More so in high school, you get to, at least when I was in high school, we got to go to football games, and we got to go to football games that weren't at our high school. We got to go to away football games.
Oh yeah.
Those were fun back in the day because when we traveled, we would be in the away stands cheering on our football team, and all of a sudden, if the other school had a band, it'd be on the other side, and then it'd be like a rivalry, like a war, like a little mini band war. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you're playing that song too. Well, we're gonna play it, but we're gonna play it faster, and it was enjoyable. Once in a while, we got to meet the other students, but not always.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
I love the Pep Band Experience in high school. It's like probably one of the most fond memories from my high school experience as well. So fun.
Even right now, I mean, as a high school band director, over the past 2 years, I've taken my band to parade competitions, and they do the same thing as the groups that perform at night. They line up in the stands when they're announcing awards. It's a lot of rah rah, cheer cheer, all that stuff, school spirit, and you get to see all of that with a bunch of other schools. I mean, my school, not a big program. We're sitting next to a school that has a big program, and they're all cheering. They have their little flags and everything,
Yeah.
little mascots, and again, the entire row of stands, that entire thing is filled up, just waiting to hear the judges announce the scores
Yeah.
for a parade competition.
It
And I
sounds.
didn't
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't even think that was a thing for parade until I became a director for a parade band.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. I think a lot of what you're describing is like getting used to the band culture in middle school and high school, and like really understanding what band culture is about, which is something that I'm really trying to instill in my students as well. So I like that you talked about that. And then you kind of already talked a little bit about your college process and your college experience, but where did you go to college? You have 2 degrees. You have a bachelor's and a master's. So tell us where you got both of those. And then can you kind of describe the college application slash audition process in your own experience?
Okay. Well, in 2016, I got my Bachelor of Arts degree from UC Davis. That's actually maybe 25 minutes from where I currently live. I actually went to Davis yesterday just to drive over there. And well, every single college has its own application process, audition process. My first audition for a college wasn't through UC Davis, actually. It was through San Diego State. And I remember having to prepare music. They were requiring scales, a lot of these things that are fundamental, because if you don't think they're fundamental now, you're learning them at the middle school level, and then you learn more complex things at the high school level, which leads you to college if you want to go that route. And so I went down there, had my music prepared. They took me to a practice room in the basement somewhere, and they said, "Okay, warm up, and once you're ready, just meet us by the door." And so I warmed up. I was scared. Went in there, practiced or performed my audition music, which took months to prepare. And then probably a couple weeks later, they said, "Okay, we'll take you in. We'll take you into San Diego State." Unfortunately, I didn't go there.
Yeah.
I went to UC Davis because often, again, like I said, I grew up low income. I'm like, what school's going to give me the best money?
Yeah.
And so UC Davis was the school that gave me the money that I needed. And so while I didn't have an audition to get into the program at UC Davis, because it's more so um, they don't emphasize music education or just music to that degree.
Yeah.
I did have to take placement exams. So they were asking me, well, do you know your music theory? And I said, not really. So I took the test anyways. I prepared for it, and they placed me into, my set load of music classes, my fundamentals classes for general music, just like music theory, music with musicianship, music history, all those things. Eventually, I took lessons for 4 years, but that wasn't necessarily an audition process. They were just seeing where I currently was on my instrument, and then we worked from there.
Right. Interesting. It is a different process than some of the interviews that we've done. But I think that's cool. I think that kind of shows kids that you don't always have to audition to get into a program. You just kind of have to do the research to find the program that works for you. And then you kind of just started talking about like your classes and like the experience of college. So what kinds of classes and ensembles did you take in both degrees? You can talk about either of them, things that stood out to you.
Well, when I was getting my degree at UC Davis, I was a part of almost every ensemble at some point. Yeah. I started off being a part of the concert band, and that was fun. I mean, they did require me to audition to get into that group, and I made it in. I did a little bit of symphony orchestra, which I respect, and it's cool and everything, but it's just not for me.
Oh, I love symphony orchestra.
That's only because I'm a brass player and I like to play. I don't like, sitting for like 100 measures because I'm gonna get lost.
Totally.
To be honest, I was a part of the jazz band at Davis, on and off for a few years, and yeah, that was all fun. When I was getting my master's at Pacific, I was a part of the symphonic band and the wind ensemble for a little bit of time, not too much time, and that was fun too. But because it was a different experience compared to Davis. At Davis, a lot of the majors weren't in ensembles. A lot of the majors were either, getting their degree in music history or ethnomusicology, music theory, composition. And here I was, the one that was going for music performance. So I was one of the few music majors in a music ensemble. Everyone else was either a biology major, math major, a lot of these things that I'm not going to even get into. And so at Pacific, for the most part, everyone was a music major, which is great because when I applied for the school and I went to go take my little tour, I sat in on one of the ensemble rehearsals, and it was a mind-blowing experience because I'm thinking, well, why can't we have this at all schools? Have an ensemble full of majors just playing music, quality repertoire.
Yeah.
Well, it was a total culture shock when I went from Davis to Pacific.
Same.
Yeah.
Me too. It was wild hearing Pacific's ensembles for the first time. I think I cried, actually. I was so amazed. I guess, obviously, music education has had a really big impact on you and myself. So what skills has it taught you over your entire journey? I know it's probably an endless list, but if you were to pick a few things that it has taught you.
Oh man, that's a good question. One is perseverance. I mean, there are going to be a lot of things that are going to want to drag you down. But man, you gotta keep on pushing, because if you don't push, then that's gonna translate to anything you do in life. I mean, I tell my students, you don't necessarily need to go into music after high school. I don't care if you don't go into music. That's fine with me. Just have a love for it.
Yep.
Because if you could deal with me and like how I do things and how I push you and everything, then you could take that to whatever career path you want to, because you're gonna have those setbacks and you can't just crumble under pressure and just quit, because that's not how things work in real life. You can't just quit. You gotta keep on pushing forward. You gotta be dedicated. I mean, even if you're not, just do enough to the point where you don't become an issue. Or so like practice your music, make sure you have it down, and go from there. Because I get it. You can't always practice 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
I don't even do that anymore.
No. Yeah. And I tell my kids a lot of the same. I think that's really, really good advice. I think that I tell my kids, if you don't have to major in music, you can go to college and major in biology and still take a music class in college just to keep it in your life, But I think making it aware to students that music provides much more than just the experience. It also provides you life skills, so that you can go on and persevere through things. I think that's some of the best advice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even then, you make friendships that hopefully last a lifetime. I mean,
yep.
And if you have those, I mean, yeah, granted, you're there for your friends. You might be there for your friends, but you got to remember, we have something over here that's bigger than you. It's a program, and if you and your friend, are able to, help each other out to make the program better, then that's fine. But when it comes to like, not dealing with the perseverance, the dedication, the commitment, the work, that's when it becomes an issue. Even then, we also have to think about the process of things. I have my band shirt on right now, but on the back of my student's shirt, we put hashtag the process. If they ask, well, what's the process? Well, it's putting the time into to practice, knowing your music, having the set skills to become better musicians and people, because it takes a while. It's not going to happen overnight, and that's where a lot of the issues happen. We get frustrated and we just want to quit, but it's a journey as well. Your journey might have detours.
Yep.
And sometimes the detours are the best things, because it might set you back, but you learn a lot more from it.
True.
So that's kind of what I'm going for with my program, and just some of the skills that I learned. Again, a kid from the hood, from South Central, somehow made it up to Davis, which is 400 miles from where I live, where I grew up. Got my degrees and everything. Traveled from Davis to Stockton, from Stockton to Sacramento. So it's not going to happen right away.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Totally. It's a journey. It takes a lot of hard work, and I think you are living proof of that. So I hope my students get the message from this. I'm sure they will. Can you describe life after graduating with your master's at UOP? How has life been since graduating? How is it being on the other side? You're not a student anymore, you're a teacher. So how's life? How's it treating you?
That's another good question. Lots of good questions. Well, when I graduated from Pacific, I didn't have a job. That was kind of scary. Because I was living in Stockton at the time, and I was going from interview to interview, getting rejected, having phone interviews, video interviews. I had one in-person interview in Santa Rosa somewhere, and didn't like it, didn't get the job, until probably in July. I got a phone call and an email saying, hey, we'd like to have you apply for this job in West Sac. At first, I thought West Sac was just a part of Sacramento, but apparently not. It's its own city, and it's in a different county, so it's not a part of Sacramento County, which is weird. So I went, drove down there, well, up, yeah, I drove north, and so maybe a few hours after my interview, they called me and they said, "Hey, we want to give you the job." And I said, "Yeah, let's make it happen."
Nice.
Granted, I had to tell another job like, "Hey, I took this position already, so please cancel my interview. Thank you for at least giving me an opportunity to try to interview." And I'm not gonna say it's been a an easy journey. I mean, all the journeys are difficult, but this one's been very interesting because I took over a position for a director that was very well known in the area. So going to the competitions, going to all these things, I go up to the judges and I said, before we compete, I tell them, "Hey, how's it going? I'm the band director." They're like, "Oh, you're leading this person's band." I'm like, "No, it's my band now. It's my band."
There you go. Change that verbiage.
Well, it's my band.
Yep.
I'm the one that chooses the repertoire. I'm the one that
You're taking them there.
Yeah, I make sure the students know the music.
Yeah.
And so, I taught for the last 2 years, and it's been getting better. It's just changing the culture a little bit has been a very interesting experience because my younger students are fine.
Yeah.
This year I brought in maybe 25 freshmen, so I have a large freshman class. I mean, granted, I might lose some, but I'm okay with that. Um, but a lot of what I'm trying to teach is accountability as well, and that's one thing that varies from teacher to teacher. And I tell my students, "Hey, this is how I run things." Granted, there's been pushback here and there, and I mean, when isn't there pushback?
Right.
So that's been fine. The only thing that I'm figuring out right now is that there's a lot more stuff we need to deal with in music than just music.
Yes.
Like preparing the concerts, preparing the repertoire for the concerts, making sure everything is set, doing the request forms, getting the bus ready,
Yeah.
letting the parents know that we have a concert
Oh, yeah.
happening, making sure the students are up to date with everything involved, everything going on.
Running social media accounts.
Talking to administrators.
Yep.
Just we got to think of ourselves as like business managers.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just we're not just music teachers. We're doing a lot of other things. And as a music student, y'all have it easy to an extent. You have it somewhat easy. You just gotta play your instrument and make sure you have your thing right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I get it. A lot of y'all have other things going on in life, and we, as teachers, we also have to be mindful of that.
Right.
But students also have to be mindful of what teachers are doing. Okay, some of us might have households that have we might have significant others or families and all that. Some of us, like, I don't have a family up here. I have a roommate, but I just come home, I unwind, and yeah, I mean, sometimes I need to make sure that I get better about that.
Yeah.
Just learning how to
push it away, turn it off. Totally, I get that.
But I've been better about it this year than last year, for sure.
Good. Well, it sounds like you are, just like myself, figuring out the whole job title and all that good stuff. So, you kind of gave some really good advice already, but do you have any other pieces of advice for my middle school musicians who either want to stay in music going through high school or want to do it as a career?
Okay. I don't remember if Dr. Hammer ever talked about this.
What?
I think he might have told me, or I don't know, or I learned this in grad school. Never ever try to push students to become music majors or anything along those lines.
Yep.
Because here's the thing, and this is for y'all middle school students, the high school students even. You need to have that grit. You need to have that passion, because if I tell you, hey, don't go into music, if you're stubborn enough, you're gonna say, well, you're wrong, teacher. I'm gonna keep on pushing. That's what we want as for the profession, because we don't just want students that are, I'm just gonna go into music because that's all I've done. No, please don't do that, because you're also setting a there's a reputation to uphold.
Yeah.
Your professors are gonna know who your high school teacher was, who your middle school teacher was, and then they're gonna ask, okay, well, who was that teacher's professor. And then, it all goes back. I remember when I got my master's, finally, Dr. Hammer told me, you have a reputation to uphold. You better uphold it. And I'm like, yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
I'll make sure to do that.
Yeah.
So if you want to go into music, you need to have that passion and determination, because if you don't have it, it's very difficult to start it.
Yeah.
So if you have it now,
totally.
great. Fantastic. If you have it now, great. And again, it doesn't have to be music education. I mean, there's a lot of other things in music. Music therapy is becoming more of a thing now.
Yep, I did an interview on Ms.C, actually. I interviewed her.
Yeah, there's a lot more things other than just performing your music.
Yep.
It's a vast field.
Yeah.
That doesn't get enough appreciation. Believe me, right now, in our quarantine, you think people aren't listening to music and the arts and watching TV shows?
100%. Yep, totally.
That's entertainment, arts, and music.
Totally. Exactly.
Yeah.
What would we do without it, right?
Exactly.
Well, I guess really my last thing is any other pieces of wisdom before I let you go for my kiddos.
Oh, man. Be open to anything, right? This experience that we have right now, this distance learning that we're going through, it's a new thing. It's a new concept. Don't shy away from it. Granted, yeah, we have to use technology. Ooh, it's a scary boogeyman. But you got to realize, we're in the 21st century as well.
Mm-hmm.
By using this stuff, we could continue the music.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm doing with my students.
Yep, absolutely. I think it's a cool time to take advantage of online music learning, and there's a lot of it. So I think that's great advice, and I think that's a great place to stop. So thank you, Mr.C, for taking the time to speak to me and my students, and I wish you the best of luck in your distance learning.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Glacier musicians, for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.